Greetings, friends. Jellord here, coming at you. A little live stream action. Hope you enjoyed my intro yet again. The improved intro that I have recently doctored up and add a little bit of effects to it. Hopefully you were into it. Let me tell you, because I know I am. As per usual, forgive the temporary echo, but a little bit of effects to it. All right, great. I just want to make sure that I can hear myself and shit. So I started streaming last night. And in case you want to know the shirt, today is the Feeling Optimistic Optimus Prime shirt. This one, you know, if I'm wearing this one, I've depleted the t-shirt reserve. So if you hear any thumpity thumping in the background, let me alert you that that is 100% my laundry. Sorry, I just noticed my Kingsfield poster is sagging. Nobody wants that shit. Okay, so as I was saying, last night was bullshit because oh, let me see. All right. Great. I was just making sure that just making sure that I'll be able to see people's chats in the stream. You know. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, I started streaming last night, and hopefully, I think around 20 minutes into it, the little receiver for my microphone died, which the way the mic works is like, it's plugged into the headphone jack. Let me just explain my cockamamie setup here. It's plugged into the headphone jack. I'm paranoid, so one night. And okay, I'm talking about it, so it's making me paranoid. So the microphone's plugged into the headphone jack on the top of the Steam Deck. And I've managed to get my Goofy setup down to pretty much as simple as it can be, because I don't have a headset that's Bluetooth that's going to be able to do the audio, and I don't really have a decent headset, period. Like, the headset that I have is like, as backup in case anything dies, is this flimsy little Switch headset, which I'm sure the mic on that sounds like ass. You know, this mic isn't even great, the one that I have here, but it's better than all the mics on my other equipment. And it's the only one that's actually a dedicated mic, so it probably sounds the best out of all of them. Anyway, because this little guy that's plugged into the 3.5mm jack on the Steam Deck has its own little battery on board, it can die. So like after each stream, if I don't think about it, I just have to plug them in and recharge them. I could probably do like 2 streams with it. But yeah, the bummer about yesterday was about 20 minutes into my stream, my shit died. And I didn't even notice it until somebody like the one time I had somebody in the chat for a change, they were like, "Sup, dude? LOL." I'm like, oh, something must be wrong if the only person speaking to me said that and then left immediately. So yeah, And at that point, I was like, I don't know. I have to just build up a certain amount of gumption because I've been working a lot and stuff. So, like, to build the gumption to just like talk out of my ass for an hour and a half or so takes a little bit. And by that point, I kind of blew some of my steam, and I was like, "Fuck it, man, I'm done. I'm just gonna give up on it for the night." I also had a lot of other weird technical difficulties, or like just getting the stream going. Just stupid shit was happening. Uh, so yeah, so now I'm running a stream tonight to make up for it. It works out okay though because I did go and see Project Hail Mary today, and yesterday the weather was not very becoming for like leaving the house. There was fucking hail and rain. It hailed in the middle of the rain. It's kind of wild for Wisconsin. We already get weird weather, but that was even weirder than usual. So I maybe I mentioned it before, but it's like when I lived in Atlanta prior, I don't drive. I walk everywhere and I take public transportation. It worked out fine living in a big city, and in some cases worked out fine living in a small city before I moved to a big city because I always lived within walking distance of where I worked. Those were just the places I applied to, stuff like that. It always just kind of worked out. So oddly enough, I'm on the fringe of like a 40-year-old dude who never got his license. And I was such an alcoholic that was part of the reason it kind of drove me away from getting my license for years and years and years, because I knew that I'd end up crashing the shit, killing myself, killing somebody, or at the very least getting busted driving drunk and going to jail for it, or losing the license anyway, you know, losing a ton of money, wrecking cars. Any number of crazy shit could have happened. I had enough sense about me to know that I was too drunk to be driving a car regularly. So I never got my license. And since I started drinking when I was like 12, you get the idea. I never really sobered up enough to think that I could have my driver's license and not get in trouble with it. I know that sounds crazy, but I was a fucked up alcoholic. And so by the time I left town and moved to Atlanta, my small town, and moved to Atlanta, I I didn't need a license because it was easy to do shit in a big city. Anyway, long story short, even now, I just take Lyft and Uber to work when I have to. Otherwise, I take the bus. Um, and yeah, that's like it's easy enough. I was kind of surprised coming back to a smaller town. I didn't know if enough people would be doing Lyft and Uber to be able to, get rides regularly every day. But it turns out you can do it. So I'm glad about it. Some people might criticize the lifestyle because they'd say you don't have as much freedom. But strangely enough, I would argue that in some ways, you have more freedom. Not only that, it's impossible for my job to abuse the fact that I have a vehicle, which has helped me on more than one occasion. It's helping me right now, actually, in some ways. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. I'm only talking about that because, prices surge at certain times. And when it was hailing, the prices were definitely surging. So I didn't end up going to Project Hail Mary yesterday. And besides that, like, my friend canceled on me. My chat had canceled on, or my friend canceled on me. And I was determined to go anyway, but I just didn't go yesterday, and it was fine. It was not a big deal. Actually, you know what? I think I have the days mixed up. I think that was this. I got up so early today. I think that was actually this morning that it was hailing and storming. Yeah, it was. Yesterday it wasn't. It would have been a better idea to go yesterday. I'd postponed. That's what it was. I went to a 1 p.m. showing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to talk about a couple other things. I have a little order of operations here. Talk about a couple other things that we've been going over in the news cycle, I guess, and games that have popped up, come out. I guess I'm gonna add one more game to this lineup that I'm gonna talk about a little bit, because bear with me, future viewers. There was another trailer that dropped. Oh wow, there's a full game walkthrough, I guess. I'm kind of wondering. I'm wondering if you'll have to excuse me for just one moment while I investigate this. And doing this might have like doinked my stream. We'll see. Okay, it didn't doink my stream. Just gonna move this over here real quick and check and see. Real quick. Okay. Damn, dog. All right, well, we definitely have something to talk about. We're gonna see. Whew. Yeah, we're gonna go over some Steam reviews for Legacy of Kain, Ascendance, and just from a little glance, shit's looking ugly, friends. Holy shit. Brutal. Good lord. All right. First things first, I want to talk about the I'm trying something new here, guys, so we'll see how it works out. I'm just gonna kind of put this guy in the corner here. And my technical prowess is evolving, guys. So, Marvel Maximum Collection. I'm coming at you guys with a hot take right now. And this is right around the time my stream cut off yesterday, so maybe the powers that be were mad at me. Like the internet overlords wanted this one tiny win for Marvel Studios, milking the very last of the 90s nostalgia that has been propelling them for so fucking long. Yeah, the Marvel Maximum Collection. I'm gonna lay it on you. It's a huge piece of shit. And I'm sure like the actual quality of the collection, like what like the technical quality of it, I'm sure it's great. I'm sure that they've really faithfully adapted these games. And probably the best way to play all the games. That is not my that's not my criticism. My criticism is the fact that all of these fucking games suck. They weren't good when they came out. They aren't good today. And I think I've heard some other content creators say that this is not a shameless cash grab. But I think it is a most shamed cash grab. Okay? Like, this shit, I don't think that there's any way to not call this a cash grab. Okay? Like, I'm seeing if I can loop it. This is something, I should probably figure out. There's probably a way to loop it. But I'll just whatever, I don't give a shit. But I'll tell you why this is a shameless cash grab. Because the people who are my age, who grew up playing these games, they know that these games are trash, okay? And they know these games are trash. They know that the shit's never been good. But the problem is, the reason that it's a shameless cash grab is because they're kind of preying on the people who don't know about this game, about the shittiness of the games, you know? Like, they're kind of preying on younger audiences who might not be familiar with how shitty all these games are. And we'll go through it right now. Like, Captain America and the Avengers. There's an arcade version of most of these games, and then there's a console version. From what I'm seeing here, I think most of these... Let's see. There was no console version of the arcade. This is the arcade version of Captain America and the Avengers, because it wasn't 3-player on console. This looks like it might... These are console versions, the last few that just popped up. Yeah, of course, handhelds are console versions. This is interesting. I wonder if this is still 6 players. Because that was the big thing about the console. I mean, the arcade, it was a big deal because it was 6 players, 6 joysticks. So, okay, so yeah, it looks like some are console, some are... it looks like some of them are console and some of them are arcade. I'm gonna wager to say it doesn't matter. So Captain America and the Avengers was the only one I really saw that looks like it was most likely our arcade. I don't know that there was a Maximum Carnage in the arcade. Spider-Man and the X-Men, Kingpin's Revenge, or whatever the fuck that one's called, that one was on the NES. There was no arcade version of that. So Captain America and the Avengers and X-Men the arcade. Captain America the Avengers, I didn't play the arcade version because the Super Nintendo version sucked so much ass. I played the arcade version probably a couple times at some point on MAME emulation, but still not a good game. On the Super Nintendo, it was nigh impossible. Like, it was one of those games, there was no strategy to adopt, no real tactics. Half the games, like half the stages were like shmups, but that would normally be cool if your character's like hitbox was not gargantuan. And then the regular levels where you were fighting, it was like your typical fare of beat 'em up. I guess the one interesting thing about it was like each of the characters had a projectile, and I want to say it cost you life to shoot it, but I can't remember. Not important. It's not like whether that's true or not even improves the game. So Captain America and Avengers was not a good game. The funny thing about it was just like the voiceovers were really funny. It's like, America still needs your help. It would say that shit between each of the levels. And every time one of your characters would get killed or hit real hard, they'd be like, no! And then they would like always show you some graphic between the levels as if it were like a page out of the comic, and they'd be like, America still needs your help. Like as if though you beating the shit out of a bunch of people in the street in the last level somehow fixed America's problems, but I digress. So yeah, that game sucked. Spider-Man, the X-Men, and the Kingpin's Revenge, whatever. Let me just like back this up so I can like take a look at the actual lineup here. There we go. Okay. Arcade's Revenge, my bad. That game, it's a decent game for the NES, but it's not something I'm looking for. It's not something I'm nostalgic for. I played it back in the day when it came out too. It's a hard game. It's not terrible though. Maximum Carnage is probably the best out of the handful of beat 'em ups. You could probably beat that game if you got good at it. Most of the strategy in that game is you're going to be looking at memorization, like where to be on the screen and when, right? And the best thing about it is the fact that it's 2-player. This one, my brother and I had a bit of fun with that one. Back in the day, doing it 2-player. So that one's worthwhile a little bit as a 2-player experience, but it's still not good. Okay. It's still not a very good game, not a very good beat 'em up. There's so many better beat 'em ups on the Super Nintendo. King of Dragons. I mean, I'll show you like a few real quick ones for those of you that are interested who might look into playing some of these games. Like some people might not count this one, but I do. Mystical Ninja. Legend of the Mystical Ninja, I should say. But this game's also 2-player. For the most part, you're like running around cities, beating guys up, collecting money, buying power-ups, collecting power-ups. And then the sequences where you progress to fight bosses and stuff, there's like platforming sequences and then a boss. So it switches up the gameplay. But for the most part, it plays like a beat 'em up. Probably one of the best. A little pricier to get your hands on a copy. It's more like around $60. Battletoads, Battle Maniacs. Not as hard as the original NES Battletoads, but still a blast. Graphics are awesome. The effects are cool. Music is cool. Great game. Turtles in Time. I mean, that beats the socks off of pretty much almost every beat 'em up on the console. The other ones that I would give honorable mention to, and I'm not sure what I did with them now. I had them sitting here a second ago. I'd give an honorable mention to King of Dragons. Lordy. I'd give an honorable mention to King of Dragons and Knights of the Round. Those are two really awesome Capcom beat 'em ups where your characters actually kind of like have some stats, and like the characters that you choose between are somewhat different, you know, unlike in Captain America and the Avengers where everybody punches or has a projectile, unlike X-Men Arcade where functionally all the characters are the same, their moves just look different. And that gets me to the part where I think will be the spiciest for most people as far as just my take on this. Silver Surfer, didn't play that one really. I know it's a shmup on the NES. I've known about the game forever, never really gave a shit. I probably played it once and was like, what the fuck? Didn't care, because I've been through the ringer on emulators. I like shmups, so who knows? Maybe I'll revisit it. Maybe I'll like it. Certainly not a reason to buy the collection. So already, Captain America and the Avengers, trash. Maximum Carnage, super mediocre game. Separation Anxiety, basically just the Sega Genesis version of fucking Maximum Carnage. Got that fucking game sitting over here as well. God, I don't even care about it though. There it is. Stupid. Man, all the Sega games, they look fake as hell most of the time. Like, I gotta get a keen eye on this shit so I don't end up with fakes. But yeah, I got Separation Anxiety over here. Not a stellar game. Shit, I thought there was more games on here. Because, I mean, over here I got X-Men, X-Men 2. Neither of those games are very good for the Sega. The only thing that, like, kind of makes them somewhat decent is the fact that they're 2-player once again. But most of the X-Men games had this bad habit of, like, when you used your mutant powers, it cost you your life. Your hit points would go down. And this was, like, common for beat 'em ups. And like, you know, you can live with it when it comes to beat 'em ups. But it's like, when it comes to X-Men, the X-Men, all these characters with superpowers, man, why the fuck would you make the mechanic where it always hurts them to use their superpowers? Especially one character it never made any sense with was Wolverine. You know, it's like, oh, you pull your claws out and your health continuously goes down in some of the games. Like, what the fuck? What? He's supposed to have a healing factor. It's supposed to heal instantly. That's the only reason he can have the claws, right? Anyway, most of the time they fuck this up in a lot of the games. And it's no different because they had to follow your regular beat 'em up tropes. Yeah, you had to sacrifice life to use everybody's specials in X-Men Arcade. which I always thought was stupid as hell. And it was an obnoxious game mechanic. But I'm gonna be real, like, X-Men Arcade, not a very good game, and it'd be the only reason to pick this up because there's no real legitimate way to play this game anymore, except for now. And I would say that it's not even worth picking this collection up for this game. Like, this game alone doesn't carry the collection, and none of the other games are worth it, and collectively all the games together aren't worth it. Marvel is such a damaged brand that, in my eyes, like, they never had good IP when it came to games. X-Men Legends 1 and 2 were probably the best X-Men games that were ever made, and it's just because they were Diablo clones. Which I have X-Men Legends 2 over here, which I was just bequeathed unto me. I ended up with it with somebody's collection of games that I bought off of them or whatever. But yeah, X-Men Legends 1 and 2 were like the most popular, the best X-Men games out there. The most, I guess they were the most well received, I would say. So anyway, yeah, what this is, X-Men Arcade, it's a lot of spectacle. It's a game with a lot of spectacle. It was good for the arcade. Everything to get, like, your best moves cost you your life. So basically, to do your special, to do your X-Men moves, costs you quarters. That's how they design these fucking games, dude. Like, to do anything cool in the game, it basically costs you money. So you want to talk about DLC being scummy and shit like that? Try fucking teleporting back to the arcade in the 90s. You tell yourself you wish you could be there. Yeah, maybe, but maybe not, dude. Because, like, my brother and I beat Alien vs. Predator in the arcade together one afternoon. I think it was on a rainy day, interestingly enough, which is awesome. You know, it was an awesome experience to be at the arcade. But, dude, it cost us each $12 in quarters to beat that game. And by the time you're getting to the later levels, you are just being torn to shreds. You're barely allowed to even fucking move around a little bit, maybe land a few hits before you're killed again. And it gets to the point where, depending on how they got the diff switches and shit set, it might be so difficult, because I'm pretty sure for a lot of those units, they can set it individually to levels, like how difficult they want the levels to be in themselves instead of the overall game. Correct me if I'm wrong, the 0,000 viewers, but like, after a certain point, especially with shmups too, like, you're just grinding cash, man. Like, you're just sitting there and just spamming your special to try to clear the screen, and because you're like, well, I'm going to get hit by the enemies anyway and lose life, so I might as well lose that life while spamming the special and wiping the enemies out. And then it's like, it becomes like a cost analysis at that point, as in, like, what's good. Those are your strategies in the fucking arcade game, and then all of those strategies go out the fucking window with a collection like this, because you just have infinite coinage. It would be cool if they put a feature on here where it was like, you had a choice for when it would give you a hard game over. So it could have a mode where it's like one life playthrough, and then have online leaderboards for that. And then have like a standard playthrough with 3 continues. Each continue is going to give you 3 lives per player. Like, and then have a hard game over after that. And then have achievements locked behind that. Maybe that allow you to unlock characters, additional characters. I doubt it would be that hard for them to add a couple characters to this fucking game. Again, it's just missed opportunities, man. Like, I can sit here and fart in the wind and come up with a better idea for how to fucking put this out with minimal effort. Anyway, there's no strategy to this game, and a lot of the older beat 'em ups, there really wasn't any strategy. Oftentimes there'd be more strategy to, like, the Super Nintendo or the console version of these games, if they were made decent, if they were made with, like, the intended audience in mind, and they didn't just, like, not give a fuck about the difficulty like they did with Captain America and the Avengers on the Super Nintendo. If they actually tempered the difficulty to operate in a way that you can beat the game in under a certain amount of credits. Or at least maybe like R-Type Final has you do it. It's like the more you play, the more credits you unlock. I don't know, man. But a lot of arcade games, I don't really get excited for them getting released in the home console editions, because it's like, cool. I get to play this arcade game where I have infinite lives. Like, the game was just not designed to be played that way. And it defeats the purpose of the game. And honestly, arcade games were mostly scummy anyway. So it's like, when these games get brought back, that's why they're not very good, because they were designed with scummy practices in mind. That's the reality. And that's the same reason like DLC, overladen DLC style games are shitty. And games with a bunch of microtransactions are shitty. Because they're designed with scummy ass intentions. It's a scummy ass game design. And that's part of why X-Men the arcade game sucks. Because it's a scummy, antiquated game design that was solely geared towards fucking pumping as much money out of you, little kids basically, as possible. It's like, how much will you pay to see your favorite characters? And how much, and literally every time you use one of their special moves, it costs you money. Like, think about that shit for a minute. Think about that shit for a minute, and then you tell me about scummy gaming practices. This shit has been around forever, boys and girls. It's just evolving. And for a while, during like the PS2 era to the PS3 era, we were living in like a nirvana of gaming. Because the arcades had pretty much died out. LAN gaming had started to build up, so computer cafes were a bigger thing. Go in there and sweat, play LAN, bunch of people. And arcades were going the way of the dodo bird. I mean, the best arcades, in my opinion, even those ones, like the shmups were probably the fairest ones. Like, even then, though, most of the time they were just set too difficult. The best ones were probably just the fighting games, because usually you were playing against other people. Maybe you get your ass kicked, but at least you're playing against a person, so it's not like the computer's set to the highest difficulty, or nearly, like 8 out of 10 is usually what they set that shit to. It's always crazy. But yeah. All right, boys and girls. I'm just going to do a little check here real quick to make sure that I'm still doing all right and I'm not speaking to silence. And I'm going to periodically do this because I'm inexperienced. Oh, geez. I see. Pretty much died out. Okay. We're good. We're doing all right. But yeah, I guess my hot take is the X-Men arcade game sucks, and most of the arcade games do suck. Like, even if you went back and played Turtles in Time on the arcade, or you played The Simpsons arcade, any of the arcade games, they're just not fair. You basically have to have infinite lives to enjoy them. Same goes for a lot of shmups. Like, I love Darius Chronicles, Darius Burst Chronicle Savers. I got it for the Vita right here, hanging out. I got it. It's my one physical copy of the game, and I do adore this game. I guess I have another physical copy of it, version of it as well. Let's see here. This is something I might play tonight to show you guys for funsies, but I do have the EX Plus over here, which we can talk about what that even means if I end up playing it, but it might be for another day when I want to just talk about shmups, I guess, But I want to finish my hot take. I think all things Marvel fucking suck. At this point, everything Marvel's fucking lame and it sucks. Marvel was never really very good in the first place. Even during like the old days when the original X-Men movies were coming out, those movies sucked as they came out. I remember my friends and I, we were all huge fans. I lived upstairs from a comic book shop when I was a little kid. And I fucking lived down there, dude. I loved the comic book shop. I knew the owner of the comic book shop for years and years and years. Even after I moved away from the upstairs, wasn't upstairs anymore, Even after I moved all over town, moved away, came back, all this fucking shit. I stayed in touch. I still went to his shop, still bought his stuff, knew this guy from when I was a little fucking kid to an adult, followed comic books, bought comic books as a lifetime. Okay. And I can't tell you the excitement, like when the first X-Men movie came out, how pumped my friends and I were. Because at this comic book shop, this is where we went to play Magic all the time too, which is really what it morphed into. Magic the Gathering and Vampire the Masquerade were the two big ones for us, because we started to gravitate away from comic books, from the X-Men, from superheroes, even way back then. And it was because all the X-Men movies, even as the first ones came out, it's like they dressed up all the X-Men in like leather bondage looking ass suits. Like none of the X-Men actually looked like the X-Men from like the cartoon or the comic books, which is what we all wanted to see. And they just didn't want to give it to us. These fucking executives, they were the same back then as they are now. Like just because a lot of us are experiencing it now, a lot of people try to pretend and act like it didn't happen before. But I mean, before the internet, there was still bullshit. I mean, this wasn't before the internet, but this was like, you know, the internet was in its infantile years. But like, nobody liked the way that they did the X-Men back then. Nobody liked the character designs. Most of the casting was okay, but people were even critical of the CGI and stuff back at the time. And even Hugh Jackman as Wolverine at first, people didn't like that casting, but it grew on him over time. And back then, all the X-Men movies were eventually just considered slop too. Like the first couple, there was hype, and then even as they did the Wolverine movie, and there was hype, and then that was a complete bust. And it was always just kind of a bust, man. The only good thing about Marvel were the comics, and as I understand it, watching Nerdrotic and shit like that, all of that went to shit too. So I personally don't think that the movie side of Marvel was ever good. Maybe peak would have been like maybe the first Iron Man movie. For me, peak Marvel was Logan, Thor Ragnarok, and like I guess Deadpool. All three of them as one, because it felt like the same fucking movie over and over again. But yeah, that was peak Marvel for me, man. That was it. And they're never going to recapture that. The best thing they could do right now is if they recast the X-Men and started over and just made them as close as possible to the original X-Men. Like, even make it a period piece. And put it in the 80s and make them look like they did in the 80s comic books. Make it a period piece and recast. And then that way, you know, you could potentially take your time between the movies or do another one right away or wait. And if they get older, it doesn't matter because it'll work. You know what I mean? I think that they should just reboot with the X-Men, and they should make it as close as possible to the original X-Men. And they should have like a real classic villain, you know, for the start. Or just have them fighting fucking Sentinels, you know? Like, that's what people want to see. They want to see the X-Men fighting Sentinels. Not those crazy-ass Sentinels like in Days of Future Past, but just regular-ass, goofy-ass looking pink and purple Sentinel-ass motherfuckers. That's what people want to see, man. I'm getting off topic here, though. My point is, and then the hot take here is, X-Men, everything sucks. Marvel, everything sucks. All the Spider-Man sucks. Superman sucks. All this shit sucks, dude. And it was never good. That's where I'm at with it. I should say it was never great. Some of it was good. It was never great. It's not great like people act like it is. It's not like fucking Shakespearean or some shit. There's not a whole lot of fucking culture to it. It's mindless entertainment, sure, but it's like none of it was great. And as would, you know, as logic dictates, none of the games were ever really great. None of them. I did have a soft spot for Maximum Carnage for a while. My brother and I liked that game. I remember. Maybe I'll have to just play it again. Who knows? Maybe I'll pop it in tonight and give it a go. Once it's the gaming portion of my live stream. But who knows? Maybe I'll get a live hair up my ass. There we go. Yeah. So to recap, the reason that the X-Men the arcade game sucks is because arcade games in a lot of ways sucked back in the day because they were the rudimentary predatory version of gaming that like DLC and pay to win and shit like that. Nowadays it's kind of like the great granddaddy of microtransactions. And the big takeaway here is that game would fucking essentially charge you money to use your character's mutant powers, okay? Remember that shit. Fucking stupid. All right. So, yeah, that's it. I think this collection sucks. The best thing about the collection, I'm going to tell you right now, is that it's $24. So when it finally goes on sale, you can probably get it for like $8 at some point. In like 6 months, you probably get it for like $8. For the X-Men arcade and the laughs that Captain America and the Avengers might bring, and Maximum Carnage being a mediocre game, is probably worth the $8 if you can get it on sale. And the last thing I want to say about this, to kind of further prove my point, drive it home, I just bought the Jurassic Park collection for $8 because they're going to delist it. And I'm going to predict it now. I bet you they'll delist this fucking piece of shit at some point too, because I feel like nobody's going to buy it. And the people that get duped into buying it will be reporting to all of the others that it's a fucking giant piece of shit. And anybody who's glazing this game, they got fucking paid to glaze it. It's trash. It's not good, man. Anyway, that Jurassic Park collection that they're delisting, that is also a piece of shit. The only thing that's worthwhile on there is the Super Nintendo version of Jurassic Park, decent top-down, almost Zelda-style Jurassic Park game. The only thing that sucked about the original on the Super Nintendo was kind of a long game and you couldn't save. You had to beat it in one sitting, which was rough. And fucking dying. I couldn't remember if you could get a full game over and had to start all the way over. I can't remember. I think you kind of had infinite continues anyway. I might be wrong, but it's fucked. Really hard to beat. The only reason I even got the collection for the $8 is so I could save my progress in that game and maybe have a chance of beating it at some point because it's a tough fucking game. Just in the fact that you have to do it all in one sitting. Like, it's not, the game itself is not that hard. You get good enough to beat it. It's just doing it in one sitting is fucked. Yeah, that game's decent. And then there's another game, I think it was for the Sega Genesis. It played like Contra, basically. That was it. In my opinion, all the other games are fucked, including the game for the Sega Genesis where you could pick between the Grant and the Raptor. I didn't think those games were good either. They were just janky as fuck. They were not very good. Stupid fucking games. So yeah, long story short, these retro collections are shameless cash grabs. And what you should do is just like look up some of the reviews from back in the day. The reviews, you can find them online. Look up the reviews that people put out from like EGM and you know, GameSpot, shit like that way back. You'll find it. And I want to just drive my point further home. Here's the strategy guide, and you can see in this little window that I have up in the corner here. I'm going to scroll down just so you can see how long this strategy guide is. And that's the end of it, guys. So there's like a strategy for the 7 levels. They don't even bother telling you the fucking buttons, dude. Because you can only do like 3 things in the game. You can jump, you can fucking punch, and then you can spend your life to do your special. It's a fucking stupid game and a shameless cash grab from children. Okay, so that was that. We're talking about that. We're done talking about how awful the Marvel Maximum Collection is. Don't waste your fucking money on that shit. Maybe buy it for a laugh when it's like fucking $8, preferably $4. And don't give Disney your money, man. Just don't do that anymore. So here we go. This is apparently some guy's entire playthrough. I'm not gonna actually I'm not actually going to look at that. I'm going to go back once. We're going to go into the final. Yeah, we had the final trailer today that dropped. And whatever, man. It was fucking look like shit. Sorry. It looks like ass, dude. Like I don't know. Like if it's a Metroidvania, cool, I guess. I could be into it. I just don't know how the time traveling side of it would work. Are there multiple maps? Or it in my mind, like it's not a Metroidvania because like you change your character between time periods and shit. So I don't even know. The game's $20, so it can't be that crazy. And a lot of these voice actors and shit are old, man. Like this is probably gonna be the last project they work on, or I can't imagine after this we're gonna see a Legacy of Kain game. Like we saw them all re-released. It's probably the best we can hope for because oh my god, boys, it's not looking good. Of the 88 reviews, we got mostly negative, gang. Worst thing to happen to Legacy of Kain since Square Enix. Ugh. If you've ever had the misfortune of reading the awful comic Soul Reaver, The Dead Shall Rise. Oh no, I didn't even know there was a comic. Then there's literally no reason to play Ascendance. It's a direct adaptation, in most cases a page-by-page recreation, of the poorly written comic with nothing new to offer. If you're hoping the gameplay might redeem it, prepare to be disappointed. What you get is one of the most basic, lifeless platformers imaginable. Combat is severely limited, level design is virtually non-existent, and the boss fights are so poorly executed they border on parody. It's also very short. It's such a shame that an IP as revered as Legacy of Kain is reduced to this level of fan fiction. Just don't even bother. Damn, dog. That was brutal. Well, let's see. We got a couple more here. I really tried, but you throwing me into two new characters that have never been established in the lore and expect me to know what's going on. Dude, I bitched about this like the other day, a week, whatever, when I live streamed. I bitched about this then. I talked about how I saw some fucking female character like face to face with Raziel. I'm like, who is this supposed to be? I could only think of one other female character that was in Kain's side of the story. And so it was a new character, of course. Yeah, no, I'm not buying your fan fiction of a comic book to know what's going on with those two. So, of course, they rope you into fucking buying the comic book, too. Sounds a lot like having to pay to see your favorite X-Men special moves. Sounds a lot like paying to see their mutant power. Weird. Since we're talking about shameless cash grabs, right? Maybe that's the theme of tonight's stream. Let's see. To know what's going on with these two, you must be out of your meds if you think you're going to convince Legacy of Kain fans to dirge through the first hour. Oh, and the gameplay. Think of the most basic side-scrolling platformer game you can, and this is it. Avoid this if you're a Legacy of Kain fan, vet, and value your sanity. Good lord. This guy says, nah, this ain't it. This is basically a hallway battle simulator with no meaningless progression system. All the things that made the previous entry special are missing. No exploration, no atmosphere, no puzzles, and the music feels completely out of place for the Legacy of Kain series setting, which is a shame because the game could have been great. If it had a semi-open world like Dracula's Castle from Symphony of the Night, which is what it's clearly inspired by, plus all the qualities mentioned above, this could have been an easy slam dunk. But if you enjoy running from a fight to fight, not being able to avoid enemies, getting basically nothing for beating them, then sure, go ahead. Otherwise, stay away or just read the comic. Damn. It looks like everybody else is just dropping the same shit on it. Brutal, man. So here we go. Legacy of Kain. This game is a shameless cash grab, and it's fucked. And if you're a Legacy of Kain fan, don't get duped into buying it. All 88 of the reviews are negative on Steam. If I saw that correctly. Jesus. Well, it's a shame, because these fuckheads who go and try to bring back these franchises like half-cocked and think that just because they got all the voice actors together and shit like that they can pump out a cheap, low quality, barely a game kind of game and bank on the fact that the fans are going to buy it because the original voice actors are in it is so fucking scummy, dude. Like, I worked for a game company for a little while that had a Kickstarter where they were basically trying to evoke Snatcher because, like, the owner of the company or whatever had worked on Snatcher and worked on Metal Gear and shit. He was pretty much trying to evoke Snatcher and hoping to tap into that fan base, which is why I always say, man, whenever a video game tries to remind you of some other game in its sales pitch, it's already fucked. Anytime it's a Chrono Trigger like, or a this like, a Xenogears like, anytime any kind of description gets added to a game that's like that, or it's like a new Earthbound, like I'm done right away. As soon as they try to pitch it to me like that, I know that it's inauthentic, and this is why. When you try to evoke the corpse of a dormant franchise and shake it around in front of the fan base that is basically starved, maybe even in some cases angry about the fact that nothing is being done with the IP, by companies that just seemingly keep pumping out one turd after another, you dance their favorite IPs in front of them like a fucking corpse, and try to sell them on it, and you think that you're going to tap into a fan base that you didn't earn. Like, you can make a game with some nice pixel art, sprite work, and have turn-based combat, kind of a colorful cast, and you're like, yeah, it's like a modern Chrono Trigger. You know how many fucking games have tried to do that? Like, Sea of Stars, in my opinion, was like the last biggest culprit. They even got one of them used. They even got the composer to do one of the songs. Holy shit. And then it turns out the game was so many people glaze it, but there was just like one move that ruined that game, like that moon boomerang move where you have to bounce the boomerang back and forth. Like, the fact that you had to use certain moves on the enemies to like basically unlock their defense so you could start dealing real damage to them was the most annoying fucking shit imaginable. And when you're trying to evoke an old game like Chrono Trigger and then you add some fucking bullshit road bump style combat system like that, fuck you. Fuck you for dragging me to your fucking your project by evoking the name of a fucking sacred franchise. And then fuck you doubly for roping me into your bullshit game mechanics that don't resemble anything of the original. And it's just your narcissistic inclination that you can do it better. So you want to add your own fucking garbage to the mix and only ruin it. That's what I say. And here we go. Here's a perfect example. Some people would say Sea of Stars was a great game. Blah, blah, blah. Don't give a fuck, man. There's a reason my copy My physical copy, where's it at? It's over here somewhere. And I want to show this off to prove a point. Well, some shit fell. But I got it physically. And I never opened it. Never opened it. My brother had pre-ordered it. And granted, this is like a version from this is a version. Well, speaking of which, look at my dedication to fandom here. Yeah, my limited run copy of Soul Reaver, which I double dipped. I bought it physically and digitally because I'm a good fan. But here we are. I mean, at least it makes for a good clip, all my shit falling on the floor. Here we are, though. Sea Stars, great example of evoking a beloved franchise to try to tap into an audience that you didn't earn. And that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what happened for the Kickstarter and the company that I worked for as an intern. They were trying to evoke a game. They were trying to evoke a franchise that they just didn't earn the fan base. And that shit is scummy and shitty. And more often than not, it'll backfire. And this is another example of it. So I'm glad this is going to fail. But here's the thing. This kind of a failure might kill the franchise forever now. Like, we might not ever get it back. Like, it'd be interesting to look into, like, who has the licensing, who allowed who to do this. And if there's hope for it to be bought back, anything, no idea. I guess we'll have to keep an eye out, keep you posted in the future if I hear anything. But yeah, if any, I mean, whenever they do this and they bring a franchise back half-cocked like this, and it's just a desperate money grab because the fucking voice actors are still alive, usually that does more damage to the franchise than anything, and it doesn't keep it in the cultural zeitgeist. It just fucking kills it. At least we got all the other games on modern platforms, and there's a way to play them all. I was kind of hoping there was a way for me to get the original Legacy of Kain physically again. I thought that would be kind of cool. I'll probably just have to buy it for the Evercade. That'll be my next investment, is getting an Evercade of some kind. At least one of the consoles. I might get like one of the handhelds just so that I have something so I can start buying the cartridges, you know? That's the important thing to me, is starting to get the carts. Consoles, they'll always come up with new ones. I'll always be able to find one, even aftermarket, but getting the carts is the most important thing to me. But yeah, man, I'm just going to enjoy Soul Reaver 2 again. Probably buy the Defiance remake. Just because I never originally finished it back in the day, because it's easy to get lost in that game with the time stream. It's bullshit. So yeah, super disappointed that this is basically a flop. Probably hear a little bit more about it in the YouTube news cycle, or even if anybody talks about it. Legacy of Kain is already pretty niche. So I feel like it's not gonna fucking matter, and nobody's gonna give a shit. Okay. So here we go. The last topic for me before, let's see here. I already gave suggestions for better beat 'em ups than X-Men. Just before I move on, I want to make sure I covered all my shit. X-Men collection blows. All the games suck. Yeah, we talked about it. And yeah, X-Men Arcade is okay, but it's not a great game. Let's see. Old school beat 'em ups in general are not great. Yupper. Let's see. I did give the suggestion for I could give suggestions for some modern beat 'em ups. I'd say the best one is Dragon's Crown. Dragon's Crown's probably hands down the best modern beat 'em up that you can play. And then some of the older ones that are really good. I mean, I guess the new Streets of Rage, the Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge is good. I don't know about the new Double Dragon games. Shredder's Revenge is good because there's character progression, there's stats, there's points. Guardian Heroes on the Sega Saturn. King of Dragons for the Super Nintendo. Knights of the Round for the Super Nintendo. Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. Manhattan Project is another good one. Streets of Rage 3, 2, and 1 are good. Let's see. I think that's most of them. Final Fight's pretty decent, even though those kind of suffer from the same bullshit that the spend your life points to fight beat 'em ups suffer from. Let's see. All right. Yeah, that brings me here. So I went and I watched Project Hail Mary today. And right out the gate, I'm just going to say it, I like it. And before I continue on for a moment, I'm just going to make sure, once again, that I'm not talking into the void. Cafes were a bigger thing. Go in there and sweat, play LAN, bunch of people. And arcades were going the way. The spend your life points to fight beat 'em up. Okay, cool. We're still good, ladies and gents. Just making sure. Don't want to be here wasting my time talking to nobody. Okay, so I went and saw Project Hail Mary. I mentioned that a little earlier in the stream. I'll say right away I liked it. It was good. In this perpetual sea of shit movies, we got a good movie. And I'm saying it's a good movie. I don't think it's like great. I don't think this is the kind of movie that I'm going to go back and watch it multiple times. I might, if it comes out physically on Blu-ray or some shit, I'll pick up the Blu-ray for sure and watch it again at home. Yeah, I will do that. I would purchase it physically. I liked it enough to purchase it physically. So that's high praise. Probably the best movie I've seen this year. I did watch 28 Days Later, Skull or Bone Temple, whatever. I suppose I could talk about that. I'll probably save that for a different video. But between those two, I guess those are like the two movies I really watched this year, actually, when I think about it. Major releases, I guess. I'd say I like them both for different reasons. I like Project Hail Mary a little more, I guess. It was slightly more engaging. I don't know, that'll probably be a hot take. I almost think they're both just as good. But if anything, I guess that's praise to Bone Temple. Like, I thought it was a decent movie, and I didn't really go around and look at what other people thought about Bone Temple. I'm sure they probably had negative attitudes about it because that's what sells on fucking YouTube and streaming or whatever, but I didn't think Bone Temple was that bad. I liked it. I don't particularly like, I didn't like that the doctor died. A lot of characters I didn't like in the movie, but oh yeah, spoilers. But I did enjoy it, so it's a tough call for me. I think I like this movie better, a bit more feel good, that's for sure. Both were funny movies, oddly enough. I am looking forward to the sequel for Bone Temple though, because I know they left it on another cliffhanger. It's interesting. Anyway, Project Hail Mary. I liked it overall. I'll take a look at my points here. So I did notice for some of it, for a lot of it, they did kind of glaze over a lot of the science side of it, which I'm fine with. I don't mind. I think I as somebody who's a huge Star Trek fan and I've watched besides basically after Enterprise. But Enterprise and back, I've watched all of the series and movies 3-4 times all the way through. That includes Enterprise. Some of them more. Watched Voyager like 5 times all the way through. I watched The Next Generation like 3 or 4 times all the way through. Deep Space Nine, I think I'm up to like 5 times. The one I watched the least were the originals, but I watched those at like the most wasted point in my life when I lived upstairs from a bar. We had the fucking collection of DVDs, and I watched them all the way through once. So it's like whenever I do watch the originals, it's kind of like a greatest hits thing for me. I go back and watch my favorites. That's not one that I really go back and watch over and over again. Too weird and goofy. But like, what? See, now I'm losing track of what the fuck. Why the fuck did I even bring up Star Trek? Oh yeah, because I do like the scientific side of it, and the minutia, and them getting into the weeds with some of the stuff, and even using it as kind of a way to maybe educate you a little bit about like some contemporary scientific shit that might be pertinent, you know? Anyway, what I mean to say is I'm a big fan of the science side of things. I don't mind them going into more grave detail, which they didn't really get crazy with the science in this movie, and I don't mind that. It took the back seat. It got as complicated as it needed to. And in some ways it was kind of like a buddy comedy, the movie was, right? And I enjoyed that. I like that the alien character was a rock. I like that they kind of revealed him fairly, early on. It was about a third away into the movie. I think that the movie was pretty predictable. I'll say that. I think it was pretty predictable. And because I mean, like right away from the beginning, I knew that he was going to make it. Like there's no question in my mind. He was going to make it, and everything was going to be fucking fine. Which is whatever. That brings me to the topic of like subverting your expectations, which I'm at a point in my life where I'm fucking tired of people trying to subvert my expectations. Like, if you're trying to subvert my expectations, then fuck you first. Because when somebody's subverting my expectations at this point, I just feel like they're trying to fuck with my entertainment experience. Okay? And there was one sec, I'm just gonna re-up my. Sorry, I've been coming right back. Here we go. I feel like once upon a time, it was okay to subvert my expectation. Like, for instance, in the original Matrix movie, when Neo burst out of his fucking pod and pushed out of the membrane and shit, that subverted my expectations for the film. Like, I was thinking we were going to get some more Johnny Mnemonic style kind of shit, because I was familiar with Johnny Mnemonic back in the day. At the time, it was a cult classic film, very beloved by many. It seemed like we were going to get more of that because it was fucking Keanu Reeves and kind of the same setting and everything. And then, boom, wicked ass science fiction, apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic future, right? That to me is when subverting people's expectations meant something and it made sense. Now, when they're subverting your expectations, that's just another way of them. That's another way to say that they're basically going to uproot most of the things that define the franchise in question. whatever it may be. So it's like, oh, we're going to subvert your expectations for Superman. How are we going to do that? By starting the movie with him getting his fucking ass kicked. You know, like, and that's a simple current example. There are many more. And it's constant and never ending. And usually the man is the butt end of the joke. Or if it's a male character, yeah, that's he's usually the one that's absorbing the brunt of the critical subversion, right? They're going to subvert his role as a man. That's really what it boils down to. And a lot of it, I mean, I am so fucking sick. If a movie tries to subvert my expectations, then the movie's just fucking with me. It's like basically like cinematic gaslighting, where like what they did to us in Game of Thrones, where they convinced us that that entire show was about a bastard son underdog who literally climbed from the fucking very bottom, nearly the damn pits of hell, to the very top of mankind to face the most greatest evil undead lord who threatened to fucking doom the known world. The whole movie predicated on this fucking showdown. And then his little child sister defeats him real quick at the end. They don't even fight each other. If that's not like the most monumental gaslight and just a complete disrespect to the viewer, I don't know what is. And I don't care, man or woman, who the fuck you were. You wanted to see Jon Snow fight the fucking Night King. So fuck those kinds of subversions, because as far as I'm concerned, when the creator is trying to subvert your expectations, they're just gaslighting you and fucking with you as a viewer. And in so many words, they're telling you that you don't know what you want. And to that I say, can you just like fulfill my expectations like one time during a given IP? Maybe the first movie, fulfill my expectations. And then like after that, maybe a sequel, a strong follow-up, you know, fulfilling some more of my expectations, like a villain I wanted to see or something like that, or a sidekick or co-hero, whatever we're talking about, whatever kind of film, whatever the IP. Maybe give me 2 movies before you come and subvert my expectations by like introducing his quirky female counterpart or completely replacing him with a black female version of himself. Like just like fulfill my expectations once. And then it would be nice if you just didn't subvert my expectations ever again anymore. That'd be pretty cool. And to get back on topic, this movie really doesn't try to subvert your expectations. It does like a tiny bit towards the end, you know, and in a couple of ways it does. So all of the rest of his crew, the other 2 crewmates he had, or all the rest of the crew that was supposed to be with him, essentially all of them like fucking dying. That kind of threw me a little bit. Usually, they're all about those co-stars, especially like everybody that died and shit was pretty much the whole cultural rainbow that BEI would typically mandate that you have in a film. So that was everybody. The whole cultural rainbow died. The white dude survived. Which actually, that was the biggest subversion of my expectations, was that the white dude saved everybody. So they did subvert my expectations there. Because in the current cultural, well, what they like would have us believe is the current cultural zeitgeist, this dude probably would have been like, I don't know, a Samoan woman under normal circumstances, but for whatever reason, our guy here is doing pretty good. I think it's because all the ladies he's very bangable for the ladies. So he's, as much as they don't want to admit that, I think that's the main reason he's doing so well in the box office right now, is because the ladies, they love him, you know? They love Ryan Gosling. I think like I think really when he took off as a star was after Barbie. Um, so many women went to see that, and then it's funny how much female sex drive actually drives movie tickets. People don't talk about it though. They like to pretend like women don't have libidos. It's just men are the ones that are just constantly salivating at the mouth and can't think straight uh, at the sight of a beautiful woman, and yet we got this everyman who is completely killing it. It's almost like there's only like 3 male actors right now in Hollywood. It's like maybe 4. It's like there's fucking Pedro Pascal is in everything. Jason Momoa is in every other movie. Jack Black seems to be in like every 4th movie now, or at least voice acting in it. We got Ryan Gosling, and then we sort of have Chris Pratt, and that's like those guys are carrying all the movies. And as far as like female actresses, I don't know. I can't even think of any because I don't like any of them. So I'll just leave it at that. All right, moving on with Project Hail Mary here. Didn't subvert my expectations. That's right, it didn't subvert my expectations. It was pretty predictable, which I don't think was a bad thing. I knew these guys, I knew it was going to work out. The only thing that I kind of didn't know was whether Ryan Gosling was going to die or Rocky was going to die. I kind of really thought Rocky was going to die. But that's the one way they did keep it up in the air. That's how they kept you guessing, like who's going to die, and then nobody died, which is kind of what I was expecting. And then the one way that they kind of pleasantly subverted my expectations was by placing Ryan Gosling's character kind of where I wanted to see him end up anyway, which was pretty cool that he ended up on the alien planet, I thought it was a neat way to conclude it. He didn't die. He didn't just come back to Earth where everybody was older and shit and get celebrated or whatever the fuck. Like you never really see that ending though. It's like the Star Wars ending, I guess you could call it, right? Where you come back and everybody fucking claps for you and it's a ceremony about how awesome you are. You don't get that ending too often. I thought it was cool that he turned around, saved his buddy. I thought it was cool that they put him in a biodome at the end. Yeah, that's a pleasant way to subvert the expectations of the audience. Give them what they want, but just get them there in a way they don't expect to arrive there. You see what I mean? And I don't think that a little predictability is bad, man. It's like people want to see the hero win. Let him win. And it's like, especially if it's going to be like a trilogy or something like that, they're going to have to win eventually, but you can still play around with them losing at some point because they have to. That has to be the climax of conflict. Yeah, that was a pleasant subversion, I think. Another pleasant surprise for me was that the movie didn't like degenerate into a romance, which it seems like so many movies they always have to kind of shoehorn some romantic aspect in, especially with Ryan Gosling here. I mean, he's the heartthrob guy, I really was thinking they were going to have him have a romantic element. For a second, it seemed like he was going to like have a romantic element with that German lady or whatever the fuck. She was pretty cool though. She was an interesting female character that was depicted well, I thought. And they didn't try to. I mean, she was kind of a girl boss, but she still was. They still was feminine. They still managed to give her a very feminine or quality, aura, quality. So I thought it was a well done character. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. Overall, it was a good movie. I don't think it was like great, crazy, all time, whatever. A lot of people are really glazing it. And I think part of that is because, and some of this, I was listening to Nerdrotic, like, few days ago. I don't remember if it was like Mahler or Disper or who was saying this, but they were talking about how um, movies and shit are so terrible lately that even it's like just even getting a mediocre movie is so much better than the trash that's out, that some of these mediocre movies get mistaken for greats. I think there's some truth to that. I don't think that Project Hail Mary is going to be one of the greats. It was a good movie, just like The Martian was a pretty good movie. I don't think that this movie is going to be like remembered as one of the greats, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and I feel like it's going to do well enough that that might inform Hollywood a little bit on where they should be headed with their films. At least I hope so. I hope it's a sign that culturally we are starting to course correct back to not being completely fucking insane and trying to push fringe lifestyle propaganda on everybody. And maybe we can all just have some fucking middle of the road entertainment again for a change, instead of everything being some kind of conversion ritual, or entertainment being a solution for everybody's social problems. Like, entertainment's not supposed to solve any problems, man. Explore them maybe, but it's not the solution. Yeah, hopefully movies with these overt messages, these current day isms, as I've heard a certain YouTuber call them. Hopefully, I think the better stories are the stories that avoid the current day isms for the most part. It's more like the ones that speak to universalisms, universal experiences. And I talked about this a little bit more in the past when talking about video games. That's why it's like a lot of like older games and movies and shows and anime. A lot of the themes would be like the power of friendship, the power of family, the power, all these sorts of positive, like if you keep trying, you will succeed. These types of positive messages. The reason that those messages were all right and positive and worked, or just universally accepted, is because it was part of everybody's universal experience, first of all. And secondly, those types of messages are inoffensive, and everybody has a stake in it. Like, everybody's had a friend. Everybody's tried at something and failed and kept trying and succeeded. So it's like all of these things, you have a stake in it, and you can relate to it. A lot of the fucking shit that a lot of these more focused current day isms, most of your average viewers are not going to be able to relate and will just be pushed away by the shit. It's fine to have fringe entertainment and find your audience, and come up with your own shit instead of hijacking everybody else's. That's what I say. So yeah, I guess that's my cultural coverage for today, talking about games that suck, that have come out. Yeah, lordy. So I'm just moving on here. I'm wondering, how long have I been streaming for already? 84 minutes. Damn, I've already been on for a while. I'm debating if I should play a game or call it a night. Almost 11. I gotta get up at like 8 a.m. It's a tough call. I think I might call it. I might just call it a night. I don't think I'm gonna play any games tonight because gotta get up early. It's already 11. And I got a whole ass day ahead of me tomorrow, so I'd probably rather just like chillax and drink my tea. And maybe play some games on my own time here instead of playing them live. I am still working my way through Castlevania, Circle of the Moon, finishing it up in Thief mode. And then I have been playing Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection, which those are some games that I skipped back in the day. I did not play Star Force back in the day on the DS, but it's kind of interesting. It's almost like the Mega Man X of the Battle Network games. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's a good experience. Who knows? Maybe the next time I live stream, I'll pop on and play a bit, but I didn't expect to talk about all the shit I was talking about today for as long as I talked about it. So, yeah. Reckon I'll play some games next time, hit up some shmups. Maybe I'll play a little bit of Total Carnage. Who knows? But I think that's going to do it, kids and kiddos and everybody in between and all y'all. Shut my music off. And I'm gonna run my intro as my outro, I think, and call it a stream here.
Jellord.